Okay, still, I just see you, Ed, then I see Jeff individually. I don't see anybody on here once.
Well, the
I
only
got
other
you.
one would be, the only other one would be Stacy at this point, because somebody else is still trying to connect, and I think that's Glenn Clark. But he's still trying to get in here.
I got the agenda on my laptop.
Yes,
Yep.
because I'm
and you
sharing my
should,
screen.
Okay.
which is the objective. What do you got for background, Jeff? Where are you, man?
I'm in Las Vegas. No, actually, I'm in Grand
You
Canyon.
wish. Where are you? Grand Canyon?
I don't know.
Okay, not to worry. The important thing is the agenda and the other material that's going to come up. And it is 7 o'clock. So we'll call this meeting of the board, or this virtual meeting of the Board of Selectmen, to order. We do have a pledge. Roger, would you like to recite the pledge for us, and we'll all listen in?
Okay, all right. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Roger. And Stacy, thank you for saluting the flag.
It's right here. I could not.
Yeah.
Can you hear my voice okay?
And I thank you
Unfortunately,
for that.
yes.
Next,
You can't-
the
okay,
next
thank you.
matter is the approval of minutes. Do I have a motion?
I make a motion that we approve the minutes of our April 21st meeting as it presented.
Jeff, second.
Jeff? Okay, very good. I have a motion and a second. All in favor indicate name and say aye or nay.
Aye.
Roger, aye.
Aye.
Jeff, aye.
Ed Moan, aye. Motion approved. We have no old business. Moving right along to new business. The first matter on new business is to award a bid for Woodbridge Lane Ridgewood Acres Pump Station and to authorize me, Ed Moan, to enter into the contract.
Ed, I'm having a hard time hearing you.
Yeah, you're starting to fade out. When you went off to the side, you faded out.
Okay, I'm sorry. I'm looking over at stuff. I'll put it in front of me. So again, first order of business is to award bid Woodbridge Lane Ridgewood Acres Pump Station and authorize me as the first selectman to enter into the contract for that low bidder. We have on the screen currently Stony Brook Construction. Let me make sure that my volume's up all the way, and it is. Stony Brook Construction is the low bidder. You can see there's associated big documentation as well. One of the important things here is, did you get the letter, Stacy, from them to show their suggested if you can get to that piece. So we have a letter, and I'll talk a little bit while she finds that. Oh, there it is. I think she has it before us now.
Okay.
We have a letter from our engineer, whom I asked to vet this concern out. And they had concerns because their bid is quite a bit lower than the next one, about 250,000. We had some questions to ask. And the engineer, we comprised some questions, principally by the engineer. They asked various questions to vet them to ensure that we were going to get somebody on the job who knew what they were doing and had it bid properly.
Ed,
Excuse me.
Ed, your voice kind of fades out periodically.
Okay, I'm kind of surprised it is, but I'll try to talk more directly here. So at any rate, they did do so. They vetted it all out. They asked a variety of questions, such as who are we subbing out to? And then they checked out who it was that they were subbing some of the work to ensure that they had the proper qualifications. And to kind of wrap it up in brief, and if you have more questions, certainly let's talk about it. But to wrap it up in brief, in terms of the pump station, Rich Tingle was involved in the process, and he was satisfied with the fact that Stony Brook Construction and the subs being utilized were of proper qualifications to perform the work. And when it came to the paving aspect, which will also be subbed out, Cochiola Paving will be doing the paving. Now, Cochiola has worked for the town before. In fact, they worked for us up at Valley View, and they did a very good job, but we were very satisfied with their paving work. So all the subs involved were verified. Stony Brook themselves was checked out by a few references. They were verified as being quality, responsible contractors. So the recommendation by Ty and Bond was in fact, or is in fact, to award the bid to the low bidders, Stony Brook Construction, for the sum of $1,405,751.50. Do I have a motion to the effect, or do I have a motion to effect to do so? A second, and then discussion if there is any.
Roger, aye.
Jeff will second that.
Go ahead, please. Do you have a question, Jeff, in your voice?
I do have a question. So I read the letter. The only question I had is that Ty and Bond had kind of set the price for this project to begin with, and it seems like everybody else was considerably higher. Do they have any explanation as to why their estimate was higher and everybody else is higher, and why these people are coming in less?
I don't think they really do. In fact, generally speaking, Jeff, their estimates are high and folks come in below that. That's kind of characteristic, at least I found in all the projects we've done to date. But if you look of the, what was there, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 bidders, 2 bidders were actually higher than what Ty and Bond said is a probable construction cost, and the others were less than.
Right.
So it's not truly unusual, or at least in my own experience, to find that the engineers estimate the cost as being higher than what they come in on. A lot of times that's due to how aggressive are people in the market, how bad do they want the job, how busy are they, those kinds of things. So those are some variables. But that was one of the red flags, Jeff, because with them seeing it, the job is roughly $2.2 million, and Stony Brook coming in at $1.4 million, that did raise our eyebrows a little bit, and that's why they were vetted out so thoroughly.
And how exposed would we be to any kind of change orders on this project?
I'm sorry, say that again, please.
Any kind of change orders coming in on this project?
Well, if there are change orders, then they have to be verified by and approved, by the way. They have to be verified as what am I going to say, legitimate change orders because of a good reason. And it has to be verified and substantiated by the engineer. And then of course we have to sign off on it, or I would, or Glenn would, whomever. Glenn actually more than I, once the project is up and running. But they feel confident after having spoken to them and spoken with the individual contractors involved, subs I should say, that this bid is responsible.
Okay.
I mean, that's all I can say, Jeff. I was skeptical too, as were the engineers, but that's why we took actually quite a bit longer and spoke with a lot of people, some who have worked with Stony Brook to find out if they were responsible and were legitimate contractors who often bid correctly. The answers came back yes. And as I said earlier, the subs involved principally with, in many ways, I won't say principally, are all legitimate contractors. So
Okay.
So we have a motion in a second. Do I please vote on this matter? All those in favor of awarding to Stony Brook Construction, again, state your name and your vote.
Jeff?
Roger?
Roger, aye.
Okay, and Ed Mon, aye. We will award contract. Thank you. We will award contract to Stony Brook Construction. The second piece of this same agenda item is to permit me as the first selectman to enter into the contract with Stony Brook. It is the same contract that was most recently vetted that we went through with, I'm trying to think, was it the previous road project that we had just done? So this is the exact same contract that was reviewed by engineers, excuse me, by town attorney and our broker, Bill Guerrera, for insurance purposes. In fact, that one thing that did get added here, because they were kind of low, and we were concerned is they also want a payment bond associated with this contract, which we will make certain that the contractor fulfills as well. It's just that little bit more of insurance that they know what they're doing, and they're going to pay their subs, so we don't end up in a squabble at the end of the day. So again, I'd seek a motion to enter into the contract with Stony Brook for the Woodbridge Lane Ridgewood Acre Pump Station project.
So moved.
Jeff, second.
Okay, there was a Roger motion, Jeff second. All in favor? Edmond, aye.
Jeff, aye.
Roger, I.
Very good, thank you. And unanimous, that takes care of our first order of business here, under new business at any rate, which was the award and contract with Ridgewood, with Stony Brook. I'll be contacting them shortly to get this kicked off. Okay, the next matter is on new business B, Long-Term Recovery Committee. And I know, Jeff, you had indicated you had some definite interest here.
Yes.
As I understand it, the purpose of this committee is to collaborate with the state in the long-term recovery from COVID. And what they're asking is that we participate as well on the local level. And certainly then we're looking for some committee members and someone to head up that committee. So at this point, let us discuss. Jeffrey, I know you had interest, so please speak up.
Based on what you had sent off, I felt like I could be somewhat effective, both being involved with the Economic Development Commission and also just being involved with various other aspects in town.
Roger, any input or comment or anything you'd like to say on this matter at all?
No, I would have no problem if Jeff wants to head this up. It's fine.
In fact, that's what I was going to advocate for. You must have read my mind telepathically here. Jeff, would you be willing to chair this committee?
Yes, I would say tentatively. I haven't actually seen the full scope of what the committee entails, but I could certainly chair that if that's what's required.
I think I certainly would appreciate that, Jeff. And based on one of the things they're looking for in this with this committee is somebody who is in touch, if you would, with the businesses and the residents in the community. And of the three of us, I think you probably are more the man on the ground than either. Well, certainly besides, other than me. I speak often with people who come in contact with me, who approach me as the first selectman. I mean, I do like to speak to people in the town, but I think you probably more than I, particularly as with your involvement with the Economic Development Commission and so on, Jeff, would be a very good individual to head up this committee. So if you're willing to take on that, I'm certainly going to advocate for you to do so. We don't need to vote on this as long as you're willing to take on that role. Look into it a little further. I understand it's tentative. Look into it a little further. If you still feel comfortable with being able to take this role on and find some other committee members to participate with you, I think that I think I would be greatly appreciative of that. That doesn't preclude that you talk to us as selectmen. You bring us in on it as well, obviously, but you would take the lead on this. All right, and so that's where I'll leave it at this point. Are you still tentatively willing to do this? You can see here's one of the things that they're talking about. Stacy brought up a very good slide that shows what it entails.
Well, if I can make comment to it, is
Please.
the fact that Jeff is involved in the Economic Development Commission, I felt he would be the ideal person to head this up.
Yeah, we just met last night. We're discussing trying to create some sort of townwide forum for discussing the effects of COVID and asking, what businesses and individuals are looking for. And so, this kind of dovetails into.
It does. It plays right into it, Jeff. It's almost synonymous.
Yeah.
So yeah, if again, you examine it a little further, and if you feel it's more than you want to get involved in, we'll understand that, and we'll take another look at it. But in the interim, we'll be looking to you, and I thank you for taking on that leadership role.
Yep, my pleasure.
Very good. And with that said, let's move along to the next item on the agenda, which is the Opera House Commission recommendations, Landmark Community Theater. The Opera House Commission made several recommendations that are in our package after hearing from, I guess, Landmark.
Ed, you're starting to fade out again.
Am I? Probably as I turn my head. Okay, I'm looking in a couple of directions, but I'll try to stay focused on the microphone here. So it's based on the Opera House Commission recommendations. There were 3. If we can find them, I got them. I've tri-faded for a moment. So
page 1 near the bottom of the page of their minutes.
Okay. Yep, there we go, right there, freeze right there. Right there, whoop, right there is perfect. Because those are the 3 recommendations. One is to forgive monthly payments for LCT to the town for at least 6 months during the crisis. The other is to forgive 1435 LCTOs per ticket fees over the minimum of 15,000 from 19. And the last one is to defer the payments of the restoration fees, 8,217 collected in 2019 until the end of the year or as needed for future projects. Jeff, I know, we'll all comment, but please, Jeff, you're intimately involved. You can't vote on this, but you can certainly comment.
Yeah. So Gary Kingsbury communicated with the commission on this. I was there to, as supporting documentation and whatnot. But, as you know, we're closed since March 14th and don't foresee opening at any point before July and possibly later, and whether we can get a season off the ground in any shape or form is in question right now. So the revenue that is typically paid to the town through ticketing fees is not forthcoming right now. So we have been paying the fees up through, I believe, April, and we're asking beginning in May to suspend it for the time being. And also the surplus from last year that was carried over hadn't been paid yet. That's typically used by the commission for their TLC, doing little improvements around the theater and whatnot. And we're asking for them to waive that for this year. And of course, the restoration fees we will pay as needed, but right now it's not. So we would like to maintain some balances in our account while we navigate this pandemic.
Okay. I think we have some questions and certainly we could make motions on these, and I would suggest we do, Roger, on them individually so it's perfectly clear. Let's start off with the forgive monthly from LCT to the town for 6 months during the crisis, starting May 20th. Roger, you want to make a comment, or would I like to?
I'd like to make a motion if I may.
All right, let's make a motion and we'll discuss. That's the proper way to go about it.
I make a motion to defer the monthly payments from LCT to the town for 6 months, beginning with the May 2020 payment.
Okay, you move to defer, is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, as opposed to forgive. All right. I'll second that motion. Let's discuss a little bit. Um, uh, I would, do you want to take lead on this, Rod? That was your motion, or do you want me to jump in?
Well, rather than, I think it's premature to be forgiving everything right now. We don't know where this thing is going to go with this COVID-19. So I felt we should just defer it for now, see where it goes.
Okay, I think there's a couple of things that come into play here. Certainly at this point in time, we know you're hurting for cash at the moment, Jeff. There's no question about that, and certainly we want to support you up there. I see you, and I'm sure Roger does as well, as an integral part of our community, an important part of our community in many regards. So I think Roger's point of deferring is something that if we're not looking for the payment, and come 6 months from now, if you still find yourselves in dire financial straits, this can be revisited to determine whether any or none of that 6 months could be paid. The other aspect of it is currently that is factored in, although not extremely significant. We're talking what about roughly what would what are we, $1,250 a month, Jeff?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, so we're talking about $7,500 that essentially, and again, I don't think it kills us one way or the other, but it's $7,500 that has been budgeted for in the current finance plan. Again, whether it's the end of the world or not, it's not the point really, totally, but it is in the current budget. So if we find at the end of the year, and that's usually when your season wraps up anyways, right? December?
Yes.
With the Christmas show. If we still find you're in poor financial condition and you need that money, well, certainly at that point in time, we can then forgive it. At this point in time, it's prudent to say, I think it's prudent, and apparently Roger does also, to defer it until that point in time. Did I second the motion? I'll ask that, or did I
Yes,
get
you
off?
did.
I did. So with that said, let's vote on that.
If I could make another comment on that.
Certainly.
Just to be clear that, this first item that we're talking about is based on ticketing fees. So with the original contract, Landmark was able to guarantee the $15,000 annually based on $1 per ticket sold. And the guarantee was in a way of showing good faith that we were going to be operational, year round, full time and whatnot.
So let me ask this.
When you look at
this question. I'm sorry, Jeff, please finish.
when you look at it now, removing 2 to 3 productions during the year, we will be at probably half the revenue. So if we just based it on the ticketing fees collected and not the guarantee, then it would probably be close to that $7,500 deduction anyway. And I think when you're looking at the fact that we're ordered to be closed and we cannot be selling tickets and collecting those fees, it seems reasonable that either we would waive those fees for 6 months or base it solely on the amount of ticketing fees raised during the year rather than the guarantee.
Okay, valid point. Let me ask a question. Is Thomaston Savings Bank still essentially giving $15,000 to Landmark every year to assist with just that, the rent?
Well, they did do that for the first 3 years. Their support has become more of a general support since then. They kind of got us through the first contract and had it guaranteed and paid for it. But now it's,
But they do provide,
give us support.
Are they still providing the 15K?
Yes, in various ways.
Okay. So again, I don't think please, Roger.
As Ed said too, in 6 months, this can always come back before the board. And we can talk about it again if we feel we should make a change.
No, that's fine. I just wanted to make that clear,
Yeah.
because it really is based on tickets collected, and even with the savings bank giving that guarantee, they were saying, look, we're going to support you. You can use those funds to make the guarantee to the town so that you stay solvent. But I don't think anyone forecast.
No one foresaw this, no. And please understand, Jeff, that when we revisit this, if you guys are not in a financial position to make these kinds of payments, I certainly would not be opposed in any way, shape, or form,
Yep, that's fine.
okay?
And I
Alright.
make a motion, we call the motion.
Whoop. Stacy, you muted both Roger and Jeff. 1 minute. Okay, Roger, you guys are back live.
I
You were
just said
muted
call
for a
the
brief
motion,
moment there. I'm going to do so. I had to wait for you to be unmuted. Roger, on the motion to defer payment for 6 months, you vote how?
I say yes. Aye, yes.
You say aye, okay. And I'll vote aye also. So, and Jeff, you will abstain? Okay, for the record, you abstained. So motion passes 201. Forgive, second one, another motion, forgive the amount of 1435 LCTOs and per ticket fees over the minimum of 15,000 from 2019. Roger, do you have a motion?
That's the motion I would make as well. You just made the motion, Ed, so.
Okay, all right, well then you made the motion, Roger.
Yeah.
For the record, to forgive 1435 LCTOs. I will second. Any discussion at all on this one?
No discussion.
Hearing none, I'll call the vote. Roger, your vote?
Aye.
My
Roger,
vote, aye.
And Jeff abstains.
Jeff, okay, Jeffrey, you abstain. Okay, so once again, 201 on that second motion of 1435. On the last one, defer payment, Raj?
Right, well, my motion would be defer payment of restoration fees of $8,217 collected in 2019 until the end of the calendar year. That's my motion.
Okay, I will second. Any discussion? Jeff, I would have one question on this.
Yeah,
These are 8217 that has been already collected, previous tickets. Is that what it was?
we
Yes.
typically pay that in March, and we're just saying, you know, to hold off to it till the end of the year to maintain.
Okay, so let me, and that sounds fine to me. Let me just ask this one question. So the intent of holding it off until March is for what purpose? To give you guys some liquidity?
Yes.
All right, so let me ask the next question. What would occur in the event that you needed to utilize those funds and the end of the year they were not available?
Well, we have some investments that could be, you know, cashed into, you know, pay it in if something came up earlier.
Okay. That makes good sense then. I was just trying to find out if, you know, if this money was gone, is it gone kind of thing. And then, you know, I don't know how fair that would be to those who contributed to restoration fees. So I have a motion and a second to defer payment of restoration fees till the end of the year. Roger, how do you vote?
Aye.
And Edmond votes aye. So, Jeff, you once again abstain. So it's 201. That motion passes as well. Thank you. The last piece here is it's really boilerplate, guys. This is, we have to approve this fair housing agenda on an annual basis. It's required by it's required by Department of Housing that we approve it on an annual basis. We will, if you've seen that resolution, I sure as heck don't want to go to reading it all. And I think it's there somewhere. Do we have that resolution, Stacy? Or did you not get it for some reason?
Oh, this.
You may not have. The end of it, essentially, guys, it's a resolution that we are required, is the same resolution every year that essentially states that we as the town of Thomaston will promote and legislate, I won't say legislate, promote and enforce fair housing within the town of Thomaston. There is a grievance procedure that is outlined in that resolution, and our grievance officer or our town housing officer has been Debbie Borneval for a number of years. Whenever a situation may come up, they bring it, and then it would have to come to us as the board of selectmen, or minimally to me as the first selectman, on how to resolve the issue. I think we have had one issue, in my years sitting here as the first selectman, and we were able to resolve that, or I was anyways, by simply talking with the landlord about the problem, and it was resolved favorably for both parties. But it's simply something that is mandated for us to do as we utilize CDBG, small cities money, for restoration and that kind of thing of existing housing. So a motion to approve and would be appreciated, and a second.
So moved.
Jeff will second that.
Okay, I have a motion by Roger, second by Jeff. We'll call the vote. Roger,
Aye.
Jeff,
Jeff, aye.
Edmond, aye. Motion passes. All in favor unanimously. Thank you. Now we have some board commission appointments and resignations. Some of them appear, I did have to add one that came in later, and I'll just announce that one when we get there. Let's start off with the ZBA. We have some reappointments necessary to the Zoning Board of Appeals. I would ask for a motion to reappoint both Matt Kamens and Rob Mandino to the Zoning Board of Appeals.
Roger, so moved.
Jeff will second.
Very good. Call the vote. Roger?
Roger, aye.
Jeff,
Jeff?
aye.
Edmond, aye. Both Matt Kamens and Rob Mandino reappointed to the Zoning Board of Appeals. Reappointments to the Thomaston Housing Authority. We have Patty Kelly, and I had a late, I had call in, or not, well, after agenda was posted anyways, by Danielle Oletta, excuse me, not Oletta. Patty Kelly is a Democrat replacing a Democrat. Danielle Oletta is a independent replacing a Republican. That's fine. We have the ability to replace independent or place independent candidates, unaffiliated actually, without having to go to town committees. So a motion and a second would be appreciated.
Roger, so moved.
Jeff, second.
I'll call the vote. Roger?
Roger, aye.
Jeff, aye.
Edmond, aye. Thank you. Those members are appointed unanimously. Patty Kelly, Patricia Kelly, perhaps, and Danielle Oletta to the Housing Authority. We have a little something that we're going to do a little differently than normal. You guys won't be able to sign this. I do have one tax refund. And a tax refund, I'm sorry for stealing your thunder here, Jeff. I'd really rather have you do this than me, but you don't mind, I'm sure.
I don't.
So we have a tax refund as recommended by the tax collector, Town of Thomaston, to Fred Burgos and Sons Construction, LLC, in a sum of $50.71. I'd entertain a motion in a second.
So moved, Roger.
And Jeff will second.
Indicate by vote. Roger?
Roger, aye.
Jeff?
Jeff, aye.
Edmond, aye. And because you guys are not present to do this, I will simply sign on our behalf and pass it along. I think that'll be sufficient under these circumstances. If not, I'll give you guys a buzz and you guys can come sign. But I think we'll be fine. That concludes tax refunds. Communications, I have none. Is there any public on this meeting that would like to comment? Any public comment?
Everybody's mic has been unmuted.
Is there any public comment? All right, hearing none. We'll
Roger
move.
makes a motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
Thank you very much, Roger. Aye, yes?
Aye.
Jeff,
Jeff?
aye.
Edmond, aye. Thank you very much. Much appreciated. Meeting adjourned at 7:34 PM. Thank you, gentlemen.
Stacy.
Good meeting. Thank you. And thank you, Stacy.
From